All right, so the season's over for me. I'm actually taking this pretty well, but you never like to see your team just get dominated most of the game. But the fact is that I was expecting Dallas, if they were to even win this game, I was positive that would be pretty difficult to beat New Orleans next week on the road if they're going to play them. If they would have hosted Philadelphia at home, it's also a huge question mark because they hadn't played Nick Foles either this year. I think last year Foles sat for the Week 17 matchup against Dallas, so it's debatable how well they would have done, but I think the team has to change a lot. The Cowboys were obviously to a certain extent they overachieved after the middle of the season. Most people were predicting them not to make the playoffs in any case because, of course, Philly had just come off of the Super Bowl, and some people were predicting, oh, Washington's going to make it to the playoffs because they'd done the great deal with Alex Smith, who at the time people thought Alex Smith would be able to lead Washington in the playoffs, and until his injury, it looked like he was going to do it. And I think that if you look at the season retrospectively, now that the Cowboys are out, the Eagles are still in it. But tomorrow we'll see if they can pull off another miracle against the Saints. Yeah, the NFC East didn't turn out quite the way the pundits thought it would. They thought that Washington would probably be, much bigger a competitor than it was. Of course, how could you predict that Alex Smith would have that gruesome injury? And I actually like Alex Smith, even though he does play for Washington. Also, people were expecting, if not Dallas, then or if not Washington, that of course, they were predicting that Philadelphia would repeat as division champions, even if they didn't repeat as Super Bowl champions. And so Dallas was able to make it to the playoffs. They were able to win a single playoff game. Why didn't they win this one? Well, it's pretty simple. I saw headlines going into the game that the Rams are a space age offense and the Cowboys are a stone age offense. And the reason that they said that, which isn't the way the game turned out, was because Dallas is mostly a run-based, hold-the-ball offense, and the Rams are, the deep strike, air attack type offense. So similar to the way the Rams were in the early 2000s with Kurt Warner. But the game didn't turn out to be quite like that. If you look at the stat line, okay, you see the Rams had all of these people taking runs, even a couple receivers were able to do some pretty good runs, so some deception stuff, but they had two rushers with over 100 yards. And what they were able to do was hold the ball and run out the clock throughout the game, just depend on the time of possession in order to really cause the Cowboys defense to unravel. And that's exactly what happened. And how did the Cowboys play the game? Well, they weren't able to establish the run. They kept trying to do it, and they kept failing. That's on offense. On defense, they weren't able to stop the run, and that's why the Rams were able to continue to just push through and get first down after first down. And I think they only punted one time. The only other possession where they didn't get to score anything was the missed field goal at the end of the first half, which didn't necessarily hurt them at all because the Cowboys were getting this. Cowboys were getting the kickoff at the beginning of the second half anyway. So, I think the Rams strategically didn't really make many mistakes that cost them. One of the things that, again, one of the things that really showed that roles were kind of flipped in this game was that Prescott was taking a lot more throws, making a lot more throws. Prescott was kind of forced into doing the air attack thing, and it worked for them in a number of on a number of occasions. It didn't always work for them. There were a couple cases where I remember there was a play where he threw a little behind Michael Gallup, and that would have been a big play if it would have been completed. There was a early throw where he overthrew Gallup, I believe. Their connection needs to improve in the offseason. And if they're able to really make a kind of I would say, a timing correction, then I think that the Prescott to Gallup air connection would probably be much better. As it stands, he still has Amari Cooper. He threw a great first quarter, in fact, touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper has pretty much saved the Cowboys season, and he went a lot to keeping them competitive in the game, as did Gallup in the end. You can see Gallup in the end had the most receiving yards at over 100, after which was Cooper. But it's just not enough. And the fact is that the Rams were able to naturally transition into the Stone Age offense that they were making fun of before the game. Some of these reporters were saying, well, time of possession, that's really the way of the past in the NFL. Well, apparently it worked for Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson and all of the other Rams who got touches on for a run. And if you look at their receiving game, they had a couple people who had pretty good games. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, the tight end, Tyler Higbee. I think he had kind of an ugly drop sometime during the game. But yeah, this kind of shows how both teams can adapt to being thrown out of their comfort zone. And the Rams were able to even if they couldn't score a touchdown, they were able to get down into field goal position, and in the meantime chew up a lot of clock. And on defense, the Cowboys were not able at all to get any penetration on pass plays. They were really, on their heels the entire game. And this was a key defeat for the Cowboys defense. Of course, there were a few possessions where the Cowboys on offense didn't get the drive going, and I think it kept the defense on the field, and they were getting tired out and gassed, and that's pretty much why they lost the game. So for the offseason, I think the Cowboys end up firing Scott Linehan at offensive coordinator. I hope that they do, and probably looking for somebody outside the organization. There are a lot of people proposing that Tony Romo become the OC. Well, the problem is, I could see him coaching in some capacity, but I have never heard of somebody being appointed to a coordinator position with no coaching experience whatsoever. So, no, I don't think that's happening. I think that the Cowboys are going to have a hard time finding an offensive coordinator this year because so many of them are getting hired as head coaches. It's really the year of I think Vic Fangio over in Denver is the only defensive coordinator to be hired so far this year as a head coach. So that's too bad for the Cowboys because most of the big OCs are being hired as head coaches right now. But, I don't think that we can keep Scott Linehan there. The thing is that a couple years ago, I'll show you this. So there was Bill Callahan. So this is Scott Linehan. He's been offensive coordinator since 2015. The guy that they let go before him, Bill Callahan, is still doing, reasonably well over in Washington. But he was the person who built up the offensive line in Dallas. He's one of the guys. He's probably one of the better coordinators and offensive assistants that there are. And I think it was kind of a mistake to let him leave. But we'll see what happens. I don't know if there's going to be a better coach out there. The other game happened today was the Kansas City-Indianapolis game. I was kind of predicting Indianapolis to win. That is not what happened at all. I think it's pretty surprising that they just weren't able to connect at all. I think that Luck was pretty much off his game. I only got to see about the last half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. So no, I think that this game is indicative of Indianapolis getting to the prime time, and then Andrew Luck just didn't perform the way he was supposed to. But no turnovers in this game or the other game. That's kind of strange. I've never seen so few turnovers in the playoffs. There was close to being a turnover in the Dallas game when Goff and I think it was Todd Gurley mishandled a handoff, but that was about it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. The AFC Championship, you're gonna have Kansas City against either the Chargers or the Patriots, and then in the NFC Championships, you're gonna have the Rams either hosting Philadelphia or going on the road to New Orleans. If they play New Orleans, um, I think that they lost the head-to-head matchup earlier this year, but it's hard to tell now because I think that the Rams, if they're gonna, if anything, this game against Dallas, gave them an opportunity to develop this ground attack, time-consuming offense that they may need in the future. And why not use it against New Orleans? With New Orleans, you also have the incentive to hold on to the ball as much as you can in order to mitigate the great passing attack of Drew Brees. So that's about it. Of course, I'm not happy, but I wasn't expecting them to go to the Super Bowl this year. At a certain point, I wasn't expecting them to go to the playoffs this year. I've been rooting for Jason Garrett to get fired, and I don't know if that's going to happen. But that's about it. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and comment when it uploads. And you can also find my main channel, Bo Like a Leopard, as well as all of the social media that you see behind me. And that's about it. See you guys later.